Père n'avait fille que moi, le vie voyait bien que la vie voyait rien. Père n'avait fille que moi, le vie voyait bien que la vie voyait rien. Encore sur la mer, il m'envoyait, la vieille l'avait vu que le vie voyait plus, mais le vie voyait bien que la vie voyait rien.
In early August, my girlfriend Tori and I, along with our sled dog Buck, left southern Ontario for a 20-hour road trip to Natashquan Village, Quebec. Just crossing the St. Lawrence River here near Montreal. Still have a ways to go. We traveled along Highway 138 through Quebec's spectacular Côte Nord region. We enjoyed the oceanic views while passing whale watching tours and waterfalls as we pushed our vehicle through the mountain scenery. We are on the ferry about to cross the Saguenay River. It's about 2 in the morning. We're pushing on here into the night, getting closer to Natashquan every minute, but we're gonna have to call it quits because I'm getting tired. It's a lot of driving for one day.
And then Tim Hortons.
We're saved. From our jumping off point in the village, we plan to take a floatplane into the East Natashquan River. To our knowledge, no one has traveled the branch since 1999, and before that, who knows? We've driven for 15 hours straight. It's 3:40 in the morning, and we just are finding a place to pull off at the side of the highway on some little dirt road and crash for the night inside this truck. Now the reason we can do that is because of this vehicle we have. It's a Mitsubishi Delica, and one of the amazing things about it is that all the seats in the back fold down and make a perfect two-person bed. It's diesel, no problem driving for 14 hours yesterday straight through the mountains. It's got tons of room. It's like a truck. It's got four-wheel drive. It's got four-wheel lock. It can get you through some serious stuff. It's a serious off-roading vehicle, but it's also a van. It's the perfect thing. So there you have a lot of room there for your best buddy. You can have people sitting sideways. You can have people sitting face to face in the back. Amazing. We're just gonna load up our gear, hit the road. Still about 9 hours to go to Natashquan.
Good boy.
Just crossed the 50th parallel, passing through Port Cartier, almost in Sept-Îles. Natashquan is getting closer by the moment. There it is, Tori.
We made it!
Yeah!
Finally!
Here we are in Natashquan. It is freaking beautiful. Made it here last night, got a little fire going, folded the bed down in the back of our Mitsubishi Delica and just slept right here on the beach. Now we're gonna go grab a bite to eat in town, lay our stuff out. Is there anything we forgot? Is there anything that we don't want to bring? And it's our last chance to do that before our float plane flight leaves, which is at 2. So it is rapidly approaching. We're just here in Base de Lac Fontaine, outside of Natashquan, and we just weighed all our stuff. Looks like we just came in to be the right weight. We're flying out with Labrador Air Safari into Lac Fontaine to paddle the Natashquan's East Branch. Really excited, feeling a little nervous, making sure we got everything.
This is very precious cargo we have here. So I'm feeling very excited, but also extremely nervous. This is going to be my very first fly-in wilderness trip ever. Longest canoe trip ever.
Jacques and Daniel are going to show us how to tie a float plane. Tie a float plane to a canoe. They're going to show us how to tie a canoe to a float plane. So let's watch how they do it. You making sure that the propeller doesn't hit the canoe?
Yeah.
Thank you. Labrador Air Safari used 4 ratchet straps to secure the canoe to the plane. 2 large straps in the middle over the hull held it down tightly, while additional smaller straps held the bow and stern carrying handles to D-rings in the pontoon. Some bush pilots used 2 ropes over the hull with a 3rd rope in between them to hold together, which is also an effective method.
And if the canoe touch the tail,
Yeah. Problem. Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. In the plane. Come on. In the plane.
Ah, it's strong enough.
He's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, Jock.
Here's your nice trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all your help. So we're just taxiing out in this de Havilland Beaver, and we got our bush pilot here, Serge, or Serge, as it's supposed to be pronounced, and we are about to head out, so I guess you could say our trip is officially underway. Nobody paddles the east branch of the Natashquan. It's very remote and there's 2 massive canyons on it. Each one is 5 kilometers long. Hopefully that doesn't mean 10K of portaging, but there's gonna be some serious rapids. There's still those nerves, you know, because if Mother Nature wants to slam the door on you, she will. So let's keep our fingers crossed here.
Not a very graceful exit for the buckaroo.
After the hour and 15-minute long flight left us on a beautiful beach, we are completely on our own and 118 miles from the nearest road. Looked like a great place to camp, but wanting to put some kilometers behind us, we ate lunch and began paddling north towards the Labrador border. Breakfast, morning, day 2, Lac Fontaine, freaking beautiful lake. The winds have picked up significantly. We have about 22K to paddle to the outlet of the Natashquan. We should be able to stay out of the big waves because of the shape of the lake, but a lake this big, it can get sketchy. Hey, look, we managed to find a little spot out of the wind here.
Yeah.
Why don't you say that to the camera?
What?
Why don't you say that to the camera?
Okay.
Okay, just give me the take the camera off first.
Why do I just want to kill you?
Okay, so Tori didn't want to play ball this morning, so I'm doing the interview. So Tori, you can paddle up there. There seems to be calm water behind the points that are out of the wind, and also the lake seems to naturally curve in the right direction. So hopefully when we're around this big bend up here, we will be out of the wind. Okay, so whitecaps, should you find yourself in the middle of a breaking wave, what happens is that just like in a hole in a rapid, that aerated water that's bubbling on the top of the breaking whitecap just can't float your boat. So your boat just kind of sinks in it, but yet there's still enough water in the air bubbles to just completely fill your boat up. But it looks like, luckily, we are out of those big waves for now anyways, and we still have a small tailwind, and I'm just loving this lake. Surrounded by mountains, natural beaches, moose prints on every beach. We haven't seen one yet, but we will soon. Just a real masterpiece of northern Quebec. You Usually at this time of year, the larger pike retreat to deeper waters. So if you want to hook into a leviathan, you got to go deeper. Oh, there's a lesson for you. Don't have your freaking net jammed under a bunch of stuff. Nothing huge, but more than enough food. Using a smaller size spoon here because it goes deeper with my triple swivel rig. Great little lure there. That's a Williams Ridgeback. Hey, what the hell are you doing? See, the rule is you're not allowed to look in the bag. See, look at this. No looking. Eyes right on the camera.
See? That's a good hand flip.
It's a huge no-no. You can't select the cashews and the M&Ms and the yummy parts that you like. I heard that tandem canoeing was the burial ground for relationships. We paddled 22K today, crossed into Labrador, caught a bunch of pike, saw a huge bull moose, got a great look at it, saw a bald eagle, and we're about to make camp at a river mouth here and head into the river, the Natashquan East Branch tomorrow. Just got to camp. Tori got the tent set up. Buck and I went and chopped some firewood, but before that we put our bug shirts on. We got our bug spray going. Could use a little more of that. And we got our thermocell ripping full speed. We are in Labrador, and Labrador is known for black flies, but Tori was walking by and noticed that Buck found an interesting place to lie, and that place is directly beside our thermocell mosquito repellent. He has no idea what a thermocell is. He just knows that the black flies aren't bad around here. Dead branches at the bottom of trees like this, they are nice and dry. I'll take a flame. I'm using this bone-handled silver stag, amazing fillet knife to clean up some fish with.
So I was just about to put my bug jacket on when I noticed a little burn hole in it. It's a very small hole, but those black flies are relentless.
Getting ready for some rapids today, so we're just putting on our spray deck. Should have the first portage coming up in about 300-400 meters, and then a rapid to run, but the weather's not very good and neither are the flies. Just listen to some wolf calls here. Sound pretty close.
Following the ancient native portage trail, we scout the first obstruction, a falls and rapid. Instead of portaging on the narrow and seldom used trail, we paddle up to the side of the waterfall, lower the canoe down, and then Tori passes me all of our gear as we're attacked by black flies. We plan to run the rapid after the falls.
Okay, cross draw. Okay, paddle forward, oh. Forward, hard. All right, hold on. Careful where you're stepping. Step onto a rock. Don't just blindly step out of there.
I'm trying, Robbie.
Okay, come back to your seat quickly. Come back to your seat. No, out of the boat.
Yes!
close to enough water there.
Today we've paddled 19 kilometers. We wanted to make it a little bit further just to kind of get ahead of the game. However, we've come up on this cabin from afar. It looks absolutely beautiful. So we think we're probably just going to finish our day here and set up camp at this cabin. So I think
We're staying in the cabin. If this
Oh.
cabin's open.
it's a great chance to get an earlier start on tomorrow because today it was really hard to roll out of bed in the hammering rain.
And what are you having to celebrate?
I'm having a Hottie C with rye whiskey. Morning of day 4. Today we have about 10 kilometers before we hit the waterfall, our first real portage of the trip.
Now there's an old Montagnais Innu route that goes from Lac Fontaine to the coast, but looking at the maps it seems impossible. And if you realize how tough the portaging is from Lac Fontaine and that they did that instead of the route we're going on, you really question what the hell we're getting ourselves into.
One of the things that's good to bring when you're in the middle of the bush, I like to bring a shotgun because it's very versatile. I have a homemade dry bag here and I melted it together and I made a roll top with Velcro, and that I put inside my floating gun case. That'll keep your gun above water, which is always good, and it'll also keep it dry even if it's submersed for a decent period of time. So these are high velocity rifled slugs, one big hunk of lead. Now it's not very accurate, but from close distance, this is probably the best thing to use against a bear that if it charges you, which is very unlikely by the way. You want to be safe with it, or this is potentially more dangerous than a bear. So let me show you what I do, okay? I put one in the chamber, I close the action part way, 2 in the magazine. So that way if I want to use the gun, it's 2 steps, close the action, safety off, and boom, fire. And that's how I leave it in my tent at night. That's how I leave it inside my gun case during the day. And this I just clip to the thwart of the canoe so I don't lose it. All right, let's get out there and freaking bomb some rapids and portage endlessly in the hammering rain and black flies.
Woohoo!
Now we've come up to an unmarked rapid here on the Natashquan East branch. I look at the map, no contour lines crossing it, but you know, downriver a little bit from this is a waterfall and about a 3 or 4 kilometer rapid. So we just want to make sure we're not there, so I'm just going to double check. So no marked rapids, making sure that we're not coming up to this waterfall. So let's run this thing. And I just bombed almost 2 kilometers, actually 3 of continuous class 1 and 2s.
Terrifying but fun. Buck stood on the boat the entire time. We like to call him our camera dog. Totally terrifying.
But the scary part is that this just keeps pushing to a waterfall. So you got to stay on your toes.
Look at the size of that eddy over there, babe. We're safe.
So as we pulled up in an eddy, maybe about 200 meters above the falls, we have no idea where these ancient Montagnais Innu portage trails are. That's the only thing I can see there. So what we're gonna have to do is ferry across the river pretty much at the brink of a waterfall.
Death. Guaranteed death if you go over that thing.
So you point your bow upriver, you paddle forwards hard, you point your bow towards the side of the bank that you want to go on, and that sidewash should move you directly sideways across the river. One of the biggest things is how to ferry could save your butt. After successfully front ferrying over on top of the falls, we found absolutely no trail. I waded and lined the boat up to the last eddy before the drop, and now I'm just getting hammered with black flies. I gotta get my bug shirt on immediately here. Oh my God, thank you. This is a great bug jacket. It's made by the original Bug Shirt Company. It's about the best bug shirt you could possibly buy.
I've had mine on all day.
Never ending, at least a mile long portage, absolutely no trail. I'm gonna mark a waypoint on our exact location here, and it'll show a straight line of how to get back to our stuff, so no looking for our crap while we're getting hammered by black flies. One of the most horrific portages ever. We did it. You have any words, Tori?
I want to go home.
To cap off this horrible thing, we have to camp in pretty much the worst possible spot. On the map, it shows 3 kilometers of continuous rapids after this in a canyon, and there's nowhere to camp for at least another 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers, which means we'd be paddling in the dark. It's not the time to push on. Stay safe out there on the river, people. Getting ready for the 4 kilometer long canyon run. Important thing obviously to bring on a canoe trip is an axe. I strap it into my Eureka canoe pack, and these 2 grab handles are great. Whoa, 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 whoa! Day 5, about to run a 4 kilometer class 2-3. It's gonna be interesting. Cross drop, cross drop. On a hard forward, cross drop, cross drop. Okay, you gotta yell, babe. I can't hear you. You gotta scream.
I'm scared. You know where the boulders are?
Cross drop. Cross drop. Okay, drop. Back paddle. Hard back paddle. Back paddle. Back paddle hard, hard. Whew. Well, kind of terrified. We've just made it down half of this 4 kilometer stretch of raging rapids. Super pushy, very hard to eddy out. Bucks in the boat. Usually we let them run along the side, so it's a lot of fun. Beautiful canyon, but get your heart pounding, I'll tell you that right now. And looks like I landed a nice brook trout. Great action on this little moose look wobbler. Throwing it into an eddy at the base of a rapid we just ran. Produced a great brook trout. It's a beautiful fish. Still running this 4-kilometer stretch in the canyon. Okay, back paddle. Back sweep, back sweep. Steady out. Nice. Okay, back sweep. Draw. Okay, back sweep hard, real hard. We're gonna back ferry right a little bit. That's it, keep going hard. That was a great run, nailed it. Paddle forwards hard. Okay, cross draw. Nice. Okay, draw. I think that's it, babe. Yeah!
Very technical, lots of boulders, but overall just a total blast.
How do you feel?
I feel alive.
After our horrible campsite and terrifying 4K canyon run, we're rewarded with endless swifts and absolutely beautiful scenery.
Wow.
Through the swifts, we cruise in calm current at a relaxed pace. But then we hear the deep rumble of an approaching rapid. We thought we were done with the whitewater for the day. I consult my map to see no contour lines crossing the river and no marked rapid, but we approach with caution.
Looks like we can run it on the right. All right, okay, cross draw. Draw. Back paddle. All right. Yeah, so there's a couple big boulders there that we can split. Back sweep, hard. Okay, cross draw. Okay, draw. Hard. Okay, paddle hard. Draw. Okay, cross draw. Forward hard. Oh shit, paddle hard. Nice. Good job, babe. All right, watch out for these boulders now. Back paddle. Okay, draw. Okay, cross draw. Nice. Oh, we're getting stuck.
After about a 30-kilometer paddle today, lots of rapids, lots of swifts. Seems like we found a beautiful site, little bit of beach here right in an old burn. Gorgeous fireweed, lots of good standing burnt trees, amazing amounts of firewood, and just a beautiful day. Hopefully the black flies don't start getting us. I'm sure they will though.
This is a Novacraft Tough Stuff canoe. And let's find out how tough this stuff really is. I'm gonna look at the bottom of it. The one thing that makes me happy is that the big bashing of this canoe today has not left any major divots in this thing. Like I was expecting there to be a gouge out of the bottom or something, because we just came up like this and went bam right into a boulder, and then we hammered some huge standing waves. And it looks like that has barely done anything. It's still super structurally sound. So I'd say this boat is definitely expedition worthy. East branch of the Natashquan River, day 5. Got to a beautiful campsite here in an old burn.
It's a beautiful campsite. However, the bugs are pretty bad. Jim and I are okay because we have, of course, our bug shirts on. Buck, however, is over there hiding, trying to get away from the bugs. So we're going to set up the thermosol. You have the butane cartridge. Pop it in the bottom, screw it in. Put the lid back on the butane. Take the old one out. Put the new one in. Turn it on and hit start. You can see in there that it's lighting. These are vital.
I'm just gonna clean up some fish with my silver stag knife. This is a great fillet knife, handmade in the States. It's got an antler handle. I got a brook trout and I got a pike. Decent eating sized pike. There's only 2 of us here, so we're gonna have more than enough food. I ripped some reeds up because I'm cleaning these on the sand beach. I'm using a paddle, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out the Y bone. It's a way to clean pike to minimize the amount of bones. We need that thermocell in here. Just following the spine, right through the rib cage, right to the top. Now we have our one piece. Now we take the rib cage out, which is right along here. Now we're gonna take the Y bone out. You can see it right in here. Should come out almost like a zipper. Buck. Good boy. Good boy. It can be kind of hard to get the skin off, but there's a bit of a trick to it. So I'm gonna cut down into the meat and start following the skin. But I'm gonna hold this side up and continue almost cutting downwards like that. There we go. Skinless, boneless pike fillets, 2 of them. Just gonna rinse that off right now. You want that, Buck? Good boy. Split the gullet. You cut the head down and the head comes out with everything. If you have a husky dog, you might even want to eat the eggs. Come on. No, he doesn't like them. See this bloodline here right along the bottom? You want to just scrape that out, just like that. Look at that meat. Packing up here, getting ready to go. Beautiful day. We have about 11K to go, and then a 6-kilometer stretch of raging rapids where the river drops about 10 meters each kilometer. For sure, we're going to be portaging. The last trip report we found was, what, 1999? So hopefully it's still there, but it's an ancient portage trail. Beautiful day, but seriously hard work ahead of us. Bring these tackle boxes with us, but how do you strap this down? I make a really strong duct tape handle. Now I can just clip that down to something. There you go. The top handle broke off here. I can just make another handle that I can then clip a beaner onto or tie it down to something, or else this is very precarious and difficult to carry. There you go. Duct tape to the rescue. One of the things we're using to capture all the stuff we're doing out here on this trip is this Garmin Verb camera. It's a waterproof camera. It attaches to our dog's harness that's also made by Garmin. You see things from his perspective. You know, we're kind of lily dipping. We're pumping water, I'm taking pictures, and I'm thinking maybe we're procrastinating because maybe we don't want to portage endlessly through the black fly infested bush on what is likely very little bit of a trail. And I can see here that there's nothing. There's a mountain here, there's mountains here, and then right there I can only see the tops of the trees, which are about 50 meters away from me. So I mean, that's a good sign to show you that there's a substantial drop in elevation, and on a river that means waterfalls and rapids and hazards. We're at the brink of the raging waterfall and 6 kilometers of raging whitewater. Risking running this canyon again, especially being one boat, like over 100 miles from a road, is just probably not a smart idea. The only problem is it's a 5-kilometer portage. No one's walked on it since 1999. It's almost impossible to find where it is because this area's been burnt over.
It's gonna be hot and it's gonna be buggy. The trail is gonna be overgrown and there's probably gonna be a lot of dead trees that we're gonna have to step over, maybe try to duck under, and it's 5 kilometers. Even if the trail was groomed and perfect, it's 5 kilometers, so it's not gonna be fun.
It looks like we're gonna be doing this portage over the course of part of 2 days. Camping out some horrific spot along the trail side. It just makes the adventure all the more fun. That's what I'm telling myself anyways. A good thing to bring is a Garmin GPS. I'm gonna mark a waypoint where the portage starts. I'm gonna be leapfrogging on this portage trail because it's so long. When we leave our stuff there, I'm gonna mark a waypoint in the GPS.
Let's get going.
We pushed as hard as we could. The beginning of the portage was like borderline impossible. Up a steep hill with logs just crisscross everywhere. But when we got up into the high country, we found the old Montagnais trail.
I found the trail!
But this portage goes on forever. We only made it in about 2 kilometers and we have a solid 3, if not more, to go.
It's amazing to think that we're far from the first to probably take a rest right beside this big out-of-place boulder that the glaciers left here. And we're walking on a portage trail that's thousands of years old.
Yeah, we're both exhausted, super tough day.
I feel like I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning.
Certain things you gotta keep an eye out at all times for. Very hard to follow the trail. Old logs that obviously people have stepped on over the years. Slightly worn trails.
Where's the trail?
This way. Openings in the trees. Also, there's usually a little bit of a concave where the trail is. It might take part of tomorrow too, and we're already exhausted and we're not even half done. So now we're going back to get our second load. Luckily, we managed to find water, just a spring, because right now we're a good clip away from the river. This portage ends at a small lake and then a creek goes back into the east branch of the Natashquan. Finally, the end is in sight. I'm blistered, I'm sore, I'm exhausted, I'm parched. Tomorrow we have to go all the way back and get the canoe and one more barrel. So one of the toughest portages I've ever done. With all this walking with heavy loads, my feet have gotten really raw and sore. This Venture Medical kit has a little something called moleskin, and that'll provide almost like an extra layer of skin to help you from getting blisters. It's also important to wear 2 pairs of socks, thinner inner layer and then a thicker outer layer. The socks rub against each other as opposed to the sock rubbing against your skin. And that is another thing that duct tape is good for. Throw duct tape on the bottom of your feet and it really helps with the blisters. One thing that's always important on long portages is that you have all the gear you're gonna need and not separate yourself from the important parts of your outfit. We ran out of gas and the rest of our gas is way back 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers away with our canoe and our last bag. No big deal. I'm just boiling some water over the fire right now, but hey, at least we didn't forget our lighters or a tent or something like that. flat, open stretch of burnt country that we walked through on the last part of the portage. It was gorgeous, just mountains everywhere.
Finally over.
We did it!
Yeah! And check this out. A few things that we found along the route, no doubt from the natives when they used to travel through the country in much a similar way we are, but clearly with even heavier gear. I mean, everything was metal here. Whoa, back in the canoe. It feels so good. Still got to deal with this beaver dam. Super shallow here, and the bugs are bad. Almost forgot my knife, just lying on the gravel bar. Thankfully, Tori remembered it at the last second. Now we're ready to get going for real. This portion of the Natashquan is ancient, and it actually predates these spectacular surrounding mountains. It's called an antecedent river, which is a prairie river in a mountain landscape. Usually mountain rivers, they just go straight and they rip down an elevation along their course. Well, this one goes like this, back and forth. On the last 3K of the Natashquan East branch here. Switch. Wait, did we? Oh yeah, you're right. All right, we can switch back. Sorry. Whitecaps coming upriver.
And here is the main branch.
We made it down the last stretch of the east branch despite the headwind, and now we are on the main branch in the Natashquan, and there's somehow still a headwind. Pulled over here on a gravel bar to just grab a bite to eat and relax for a couple minutes, and then push on. What's for lunch, Tori?
Cheese, summer sausage, and pitas with mustard.
Is that any different than every day?
And sit down.
Thermocell! Do you hear that?
I hear the crackling of this fire. I don't hear a bear.
No, I hear something over there.
Well, we did just see bear tracks on the beach. Buck, go scare the bear away. So, Buck heard a rustle in the bush, and he went over that way to check it out, and then a freaking bear crashed through the bush, and Buck just charged the thing, barking full speed like a bat out of hell, and I fired a bear banger over Buck's head from behind Buck, and then I heard what must have been the bear crashing back in the bush. Hopefully it's scared. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. I don't think that there's a problem bear here. They're not used to people at all in this country. And if it's the same one as the prints that I saw, it's a small one. So taking on 2 fully grown people and a dog that looks like a polar bear / wolf probably wouldn't be the best bet.
Terrified.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you shaking?
A little bit, yeah. I'm probably not gonna sleep tonight, so I feel like he's still there.
Good boy, Buck. This is a spring-loaded, I guess, trigger mechanism. I pull this back and fire like that. So I'm just gonna put that into the side there, and I'm just gonna screw this in here. And there we go. So now, if I need to scare away a bear, move that with my thumb to the side, pull it back, release, and shoots about 50 yards, blows up, makes a big boom. It's dumping rain, so we are not too peppy to jump up and get out there.
I didn't get any sleep last night. Buck was panting in my face. There was a mosquito buzzing in my ear and biting me, and it was 1,000,000 degrees in here. And I was terrified that the bear was going to come back.
And here is the bear that has been lurking around our campsite. This is about the hardest it's rained yet on our trip. Luckily, we had our tarp set up from last night and just left the tent. And I don't think we're going to be traveling anywhere until this cools off. Lightning, thunder, the whole nine. I'm just going to take a chance to have a coffee and send a little message on my DeLorme InReach here. Update my Facebook page with this thing too, believe it or not. Make the rain stop. It's rained for about 36 hours straight right now. It's just crazy.
Day off today?
I don't know. Over the InReach, one of the great things about it is you can get a weather report for the village in Natashquan. There was a rainfall warning. I pulled the canoe even higher up onto the gravel bar to the highest point I could, tied it around a big boulder. I flipped it upside down. I even put a boulder on top of the canoe. Always a smart thing to do to get your canoe far away from the water.
Looks like the rain slowed down.
It's not even drizzling anymore. It looks like the sun is partially coming out. Although still quite overcast after we got hammered by rain for the last 36 hours. It is not raining anymore. We are just screaming downriver here. We're on 3 rapids this morning. One had some pretty big waves, super fun. And the current in this river is just awesome. Just kilometers upon kilometers of fast current, no obstructions. Just take it all in and watch the scenery go by. Lots more excitement to come, but this day 11, we only have 3 days left after today, so the trip is coming to an end. Back to life, back to anxiety. We have decided to make camp after paddling through a foggy, abyss-like day, and it's time to go get wood. Here's a pretty good looking one there. Best thing to do when you're getting firewood is get a standing dead tree. It's off the ground and you know it's going to be dry. The middle is always nice and dry. It's your best bet to go, especially when you've had wet weather like today and yesterday. The idea is when you chop, you want to chop like this into it like that. So on an angle. And then to get those pieces, you want to come like that. And you can see already that that's nice and dry in the middle there. Go. The rule is get as much wood as you think you're going to need, then get 3 times more. We want to have a nice fire tonight, throw out some of our stuff. So let's go get another one. When you're taking down a large sized tree, especially a dead one, it could be rotten at the top. You want to look up at it and make sure that top piece, if it's raw, doesn't break off and bam, smoke you right in the head. Chop out a little area when you're in the dense brush. With that little space you create for yourself, That will allow you to get the hell out of the way. Jump back, move back a couple steps, run out of the way in case the top snaps off and comes down and gets you. It's what loggers call widowmakers. One thing that's easier to get more control out of your axe is sliding your hand. You start your swing with your hand at the top of the axe, and as you bring it down, you slide that hand down to the bottom. That'll give you a little bit more accuracy and a little bit better control with your axe. I'm chopping in sand here, so it's a great idea to put something under your wood because it's just gonna sink in the sand. If there's rocks or anything, you can also ruin your axe blade. I'm gonna start with an area about this wide, from there to there, and I'm just gonna cut this right down. This one's the easy one. Your offhand swing, I like to bring my hand up around the top of my head and down like that. Always make sure that should you miss, your feet are out of the way. If my foot's here, see me come around like this, if I miss, bam! What you can do is you can split the middle of a standing dead. Just take a little piece out if you want to tell if it's dry or not, and you just put that to your tongue. And it'll make almost like a blotting effect. It'll suck to your tongue, stick to your tongue. And if it is wet, that won't happen. So you'll be able to tell right away just by touching that wood to your tongue if it's dry. And that's what can save your life, a standing dead and that nice dry wood. You can split it, you can whittle out small matchstick sized pieces in there that'll take a flame even if you don't have any birch bark or small sticks to get your fire going. So key thing to remember. This is a silver stag Bowie knife. The way that we split wood with a large knife is something called batoning, and this is why I carry a large knife. I put my knife just like this in the middle of it, okay? And then I use this. Smack it down like that on the other side. Look at that, right to the dry center. You can whittle pieces out like this and use those to start your fire with. Essentially using this knife right there as a draw knife. That's another way you can make effective tinder. Kilometers left to paddle, but if the current keeps up, that shouldn't be a big deal. I'm just going to shoot a text with the satellite texting device over to my brother, and he's just going to send me back tide chart information. The mouth of this river, it's very wide and very shallow with small braids to make it through. So if you don't hit it at high tide or when the tide's coming in, we might have to jump out of our boat every 5 minutes and drag. Got to this beautiful waterfall and we're ahead of time, so we decided to make camp a little early and do a little bit of fishing. When it comes to wilderness trips like this, my motto is throw some metal at them. Mep spinners are great for any species. I like to bring Williams spoons, Williams wobbler, Williams whitefish, Williams nippigan, and I've been having some good results with the moose look wobbler too. On top of that, I like to bring some jig heads and some soft baits, just like a little Mr. Twister grub you can throw on there. Good lures for multiple species. Telescopic rods get a bad rap for some reason. I don't understand why. I've caught a 15-pound salmon on a telescopic rod before and catch way more fish because the thing's so accessible. I bring an extra reel. Your rods will break. We've lost a rod and reel, broken another rod already on this trip. Every trip it seems to happen. So bring at least 2 telescopic rods and at least 1 backup reel. If you're gonna bring a 2-piece, bring something super strong. This is an ugly stick. It's fiberglass. It might not have the tiny little sensations that a graphite one does, but let me tell you, your graphite rod's gonna snap out here before you can say Jack Robinson. And I have a Cabela's fly rod and reel, Cabela's line, and also a good array of different kinds of flies. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how to fly fish, but the key with river fishing, don't just go cast in the middle of a rapid or cast in the middle of the river where it's shallow. Look for a deep pool, the place where the water eddies back upriver. The base of falls are always great places to fish too, and the eddies at the base of falls. Oh my goodness. And I'm gonna be using a small dry fly. It's a little bit late for Atlantic salmon fishing this year around here, but you know what? You never know until you try. So I'm gonna wet a line in search of some Atlantic salmon tonight. Day 13 is our second last day. Have a lot of falls to go around, a lot of short portages and a bunch of rapids. One thing I want to talk about is paddles. In my mind, the best paddle you can have for a wilderness whitewater trip is this right here. This is a gray owl hammerhead. They're heavy duty, they're rugged. It's got a T-grip on the top. It's got an oval shaped handle, which means you get a really good grip. I have pretty big hands and that makes a big difference for me. This is what we use for our flatwater sections of our trip. Now they're a little bit smaller. You can see my whitewater paddle is a good bit taller. When you're paddling in a tripping canoe with a very heavy load like we have, a longer paddle is going to give you more leverage and enable you to make the turns that you need to make a little bit easier, where a short paddle, although it gives you good forward momentum, just really isn't going to be able to do the trick when you're trying to paddle a heavy canoe like this. Now we got a gnarly class 3 rapid. We're gonna have to run this one without Buck in the boat. Buck knows the way. We show him the way when we scout, and he just follows us along shore and watches us and is usually waiting for us at the end before we even get there. Why are you feeling nervous?
There are a lot of standing waves and there are a few boulders, and we're pretty far right. We're on the right shore and we have to get pretty far left in order to hit the right tongue. So I guess we'll see how it goes. Good boy. Oh, think a little too hard, Buck.
Not too far downriver, we reach another impressive rapid. After taking a few casts with the fly rod, we scout and decide to go for it.
That was huge, babe.
So we pushed on into the evening, portaged around 2 spectacular falls, got some more fly casting in,
And then when it was almost dark, we found this amazing campsite, amazing view of the falls. And then we had an awesome northern light show just dancing and streaking across the sky. So incredible campsite, incredible northern light show for our last night here on the river. Day 14 and our last day on the Natashquan. Today we have about 35 kilometers to paddle. High tide is at 1:30 and high tide is exactly the tidal maximum. So that's exactly when the tide starts going out. Too bad it's coming to an end. Well, we ran out of stove gas last night. A great way to boil water over the fire and cook over the fire too is by rigging up a pot hanger. I got a good cheat in because I got this huge piece of driftwood and then something to prop it up on the front. Rocks is what I often use. You can even jam the pot hanger into the ground really deeply if you have soft enough ground. So I want to move that pot up higher on the fire. I just slide this front support piece back a little bit. If I want to put my pot closer to the fire, I slide this forward. This piece right here, that is best if it's green, but if you don't have anything green, just get a stick and dip it in the water. Get it wet and it won't burn before your water boils or your food cooks. When you want to take it off the fire, you can easily just swing it right off and lay it down or keep it propped up on the support piece. Just going to show you a great way to pack away a two-piece spinning rod. Just take it apart, stick this piece in that guide like that, reel up a little bit of slack, wrap the lure around the handle a few times, and I stab the hooks into the handle. Sometimes for safety, I clip the third barb off. I don't like to do it. I like the more hooks the better, but it does mean that this is much safer and won't get stabbed on anything. Half turn to bring the rod up tight, stow away under the spray deck or down the side of your gear, and easy to pull out and put back together if you want to take a few casts. Instead of collapsing my fly rod, I'm just going to tie it to the outside of the canoe, and that way it'll stay out of the way from getting broken. The dog won't step on it, and I can still run rapids, but also access my rod quickly, because accessing your rod makes all the difference in how many fish you catch when you're on a canoe trip. Lining can be dangerous, especially when you're lining a freaking waterfall. The rocks around here are really smooth and slippery. I glue the felt soles that fly fishermen use to the bottom of my river shoes for extra traction. And I always keep an eye out what might be slippery. But you notice I also wore my life jacket in case I should take a slip, fall into the water, hit my head on the way, whatever. So you want to really be careful. You got to be nimble, you got to be athletic, jumping from rock to rock. Because lining, although a lot faster and easier on the back than portaging, can still spell disaster for your boat. And here we go. We have a sign of civilization. It is the bridge. This is almost the end of the road. It only goes to the next community that way, a short distance.
There's nothing over there.
So running the last obstruction, we managed to line right up to the brink of the falls, which was a little sketchy, and then more or less do a carryover. We had to unload and run the last part. Tried my hardest to catch an Atlantic salmon, gave her all I had, and have come up empty-handed, probably because the run is over and there's none left in the river. Despite my not great fly fishing abilities, I think I did pretty well, but it just wasn't meant to be, I suppose. We are officially in the mouth of the Natashquan. That's the ocean way out there. We're beaten, sore. We've been paddling all out into a headwind for 2 hours now. A little blocked by the wind here, so it's not so bad. Last 5K stretch of our trip. You can see Parent Point in the distance, about 1.5 kilometers away. Not too much further now. We did it.